जिंदगी के कई मौसम अनुभव किया मैंने। हालात बदले, लोग बदले, अगर कुछ नहीं बदला तो बाबूजी की सिखाई हुई एक बात, वो कहते थे जब नींव मजबूत हो तो फिर चाहे वक्त के उतार चढ़ाव कैसे भी हो, हम उनका डट कर सामना करने में सक्षम होंगे। बिल्कुल इस पेड़ की तरह ऐसा ही एक अटूट रिश्ता जोड़ता है आपके साथ आईडीएफसी फर्स्ट बैंक। विश्वास, पारदर्शिता और सच्चाई का, क्योंकि इनको आपकी सफलता में अपनी जीत दिखती। मैं तो जुड़ चुका हूं इनके साथ, आप भी जुड़ जाइए ना। IDFC First Bank, always you first.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Outlook Business Leading Edge 2021. I have with me today for the discussion Amit Agarwal, Senior Vice President for Amazon India. Welcome, Amit, to Outlook Business Leading Edge 2021. Thank you so much for taking out time from your busy schedule to be with us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
How is the weather in California?
Well, I am based out of California right now because we are all working from home, and this allows me to be closer to family. But really waiting for for all of us to get back to office and be able to be together again. But so far the weather is sunny. Feels very much like India. Working my late hours over here, India time zone. Watching a little bit of cricket as well, exciting matches going on, and sunny, so it feels very much like India.
In terms of business, how is the weather?
It's been a very challenging year for everyone, and I just every day feel so grateful that customers and small businesses are relying on us more than ever before. This is a very serious responsibility all of us at Amazon feel very grateful about every day. One of the things that kind of the last year, this whole COVID period has shown is that truly Indians in general, I mean, this is true for all people across the world, but in India, the resilience and the optimism and the entrepreneurial spirit has been just amazing. So when you ask me how is the business has been, I think I rephrase that question in my head: how are customers doing? How our business is doing? And that kind of defines how we are doing. So just to give you a sense of what has happened in the last year, we have actually now crossed a milestone. We are working with more than 1 million, 10 lakh businesses across the country on Amazon. And these include everybody from sellers to delivery partners, neighborhood stores. And we have more than 100,000, 1 lakh Kirana stores now selling on Amazon, and more than 1 million artisans who are selling through franchises. Just last year, during these challenging times, we had 1.5 lakh sellers who came online and brought selection for customers. And more than 4,000 of these sellers, actually 4,150 plus of these sellers became crorepati. So that's kind of the scale that sellers enjoyed. They not only sustained their businesses, but thrived because they embraced technology. We launched something called Local Shops last year in response to COVID. I'm super excited to share that more than 50,000 stores now, offline stores across 700 pin codes of the country, are now selling to customers. And these are people who are selling online and offline. So these local stores have become omni-channel digital stores now. We have more than 70,000 exporters now on Amazon who are exporting, and that part of the business is doing exceedingly well. Total exports now on Amazon have crossed $2 billion. And more Indian brands are now becoming global brands. So that's super exciting. And when I just look at last year, we created 200,000 jobs, 2 lakh jobs in the country. So all in all, super exciting to see how businesses are not just sustaining, but embracing technology and thriving. We continue to see that trend go on. More sellers are coming online. More customers are shopping online. More sellers are selling online and selling offline. So I think these kind of trends are very encouraging. They all point to a very significant structural digital empowerment and digital inclusion happening in the country.
Tell me, in terms of digitization, everybody claims that we have been front-ended about 10 years, like 2030 is here into 2020. And in terms of revenue, how much of revenue have you front-ended?
Well, we don't really think about it that way. You want to see how behavior is changing. And India is very unique in that sense that the priorities of our business, the things that define the success of our business, are perfectly aligned with how India's priorities are shaped. So if you look at India, forward, we talk about digital India, make in India. All this is about digital empowerment, digital inclusion of the consumer, and manufacturing, so that Indian manufacturing can reach the across the world. And when I look at the exponential increase that has happened in these factors, the rate at which sellers, small businesses, and shops came online since COVID was 50% higher than pre-COVID. And just last year, as I said, 1.5 lakh shops and small businesses have come online through Amazon. And similarly, on customer side, new technologies such as voice on the Amazon app, more languages, videos to aid shopping, machine learning to kind of shape the experience for the customer. All of these are getting more and more consumers to shop online, making their first purchases. So in both fronts, and we are seeing significant growth. And then in case of exports, which I think is a good indicator of how healthy our manufacturing capabilities are recovering, we are seeing more brands, 73% more brands and more kind of startups have come online through Amazon than pre-COVID. And our cumulative exports now have crossed $2 billion. So I think all of these factors indicate that we definitely have seen a structural shift in the trajectory that we had. I think it's going to stick. We are seeing that stick. We continue to see more and more sellers come online, consumers come online, and exports increase. So I'm very optimistic that we probably have definitely bridged, I don't know by how many years, but that digitization has definitely been accelerated.
So I'm going to ask you something far more fundamental with respect to your business in India. When Amazon started in the United States, you had a significant lead over competition in the sense that while Bezos himself went through several ventures that did not take off before he nailed the model, once it got discovered, it has been a meteoric rise, and Amazon has kept the lead in terms of technology and customer acquisition. However, that has not been your story in India. Now you have a mightier player with loads of money entering the fray as competition.
We are the largest marketplace. We are the most trusted e-commerce marketplace. We are the most transacted marketplace. We are the largest marketplace in terms of sales. But your theme of your question is still valid, that how do we think about competition? India has been a tremendous success story for Amazon. Today, as I said, we are the largest store in India with the largest selection. We have the most transacting customers. We pretty much when we look at the number of sellers who are selling on a marketplace, we have the most number of sellers who rely on us for their lives and livelihoods. We are very peculiar in our obsession with customers, and we are single-minded focused every day on asking ourselves, are we providing better selection, greater value, and more convenience than anybody else? And we wake up every morning paranoid that customers will shop somewhere else if we did not do a good job. Our organic strategy at Amazon in India has worked great so far. We by all measures, and I'm happy to kind of share offline as well, we have seen tremendous success. Now, having said that, e-commerce is still very, very early in India, and there would be many models, many winners, much like everywhere else in the world. And what our job is to make sure that every day we're working very hard to obsess with customers so that in a perfectly transparent world, they get to choose us. We should earn their trust as a tiebreaker. So that's what our focus is. In the end, competition is good for the industry. It's good for customers. It's good for our small businesses.
The reason I asked this question is because in all areas, internet businesses are largely turning out to be winner-take-all kind of businesses, right? So at this juncture, and given the way the Indian digital ecosystem is evolving, how do you really see Amazon creating a moat for itself that can give you a lead, in terms of keeping your leadership in India?
I think there are a lot of presumptions that you're making. First of all, we have very significant competitors across the world, including the US. and who are actually doing exceedingly well. Secondly, we are the leader in India. So I think the question worth asking is, how do you ensure that you continue to be the leader? Third, this is so early that there will be many winners and there will be many models. And this is true across the world. It is not a winner take all. These are industries that are very, very large. There are many winners. There are many different models that customers go to. And you just have to go and look at how the industry is shaping in the United States, where just during COVID, there have been so many different ways customers have shopped for what they were looking for, including Amazon. So I think there are, and it's a debate for a different point in time. There are many presumptions that I don't agree with. However, the simple question of how do we make sure that customers trust us over other alternatives is a valid question. And there, as I said, at the end of the day, we take it as an article of faith that customers globally are similar for the most important things. What that means is there is no way customers in India are going to say, please offer me less selection at higher prices and slower delivery. That's never going to happen. It's never going to happen 10 years down. It's never going to happen 20 years down the line. So it is in our interest that we focus all our energy to ensure that we are always increasing selection. We are always making it more convenient for customers to buy and get great value. And when you do that on a daily basis at a very high scale, we have seen across the world that everybody in that ecosystem kind of the growth drives lower cost structure for them. That adds more value for the customers, that brings more customers to the website, it brings more sellers, it brings more selection, and this flywheel keeps spinning, and that's what drives relative differentiation, that everyday execution. And we are seeing that already in India, and a great proof point of that is Prime. Prime in India is one of the fastest growing membership geographies for Amazon. It is a 999 rupees a year program that provides customers with free one-day delivery, free 2-day in some cases, free content through Prime Video, free Prime Music, and some other benefits. And the fact that customers are joining Prime at a rate that is significantly faster than what we've seen in many other places, they're paying for convenience. And we are seeing the highest engagement rate of Prime members in India relative to other geographies. So in my opinion, Prime is a great proof point that customers love what we are building for them. And that is exactly what drives long-term differentiation.
One very important thing I wanted you to delve in detail is in the US, Amazon has been trying a lot of automation, right from automation in warehouses to testing drones for delivery and all kinds of things, right? It's a technology company with a certain lead, and I'm sure you want to be at the forefront and solve problems for the future. In India, however, the demographics are different compared to the developed world. And this is a labor abundant country, and capital is a little more expensive from the local perspective. So how does your technology strategy in terms of capital investments, etc., driven in India? Is it more driven by a global philosophy that Amazon will work with across the world for all countries? Or is it more country specific in terms of how the factors of production are stacked up in each country?
Well, I think as I said, the principles of why you innovate remain the same globally, which is you want to offer customers with great selection, great value, and great convenience. Your mechanism to drive that will have to be we'll have to leverage what we have globally, because many things work as is, and you'll have to make many inventions that are very specific to a geography. So when I take India, inventions don't have to be glamorous. Right. You invent every day small process inventions to new products, to new experiences. But when I think about India, let me give you an example. We realized very early that the idea of building very large fulfillment centers may not be enough to get great selection for customers, just because how India selection is distributed, massively distributed amongst millions of small, medium businesses. So we invented this product, which is called Seller Flex, that converts a seller location into kind of this virtual warehouse in the Amazon network. And that allows customers to still enjoy 1 day, 2 day delivery. And the seller doesn't have to send their items to the physical warehouse if they cannot. By the way, sellers still prefer when they achieve a certain scale to sell their items to the physical warehouse because they just cannot sustain the scale. But when they're getting started, this is a great way for a small business to get started. And that's an India first invention. And it worked so well in India that we took it to the rest of the world. Similarly, we launched transportation by Amazon over in India. It's called Easy Ship, that allows sellers to benefit from a national transportation network. And so our investments are in hard logistics, building delivery stations, building fulfillment centers, building a logistic arm, building CS by Amazon service, and providing that more as a on-the-tap service to our sellers so that they can benefit. Similarly, on the consumer side, we are doing Amazon payments in India. We don't do that in much the same way anywhere else. But that was a very deliberate attempt to drive payment inclusion, digital inclusion for customers who are still paying using cash. So we offer cash load at doorstep. You can actually load up money in your wallet. You offer KYC at doorstep. A very unique service that Amazon can do because we have delivery associates that go to people's houses. And then, of course, they can use the Amazon app to pay for all of the things that they do, like you do elsewhere. So there are these examples of innovations, and then everyday small innovations. We use machine learning all the time. Whether you are trying to help customers find a dress that fits, whether we are trying to help small businesses list their items and their catalog and figure out how they can describe the items. Maybe they don't know the color of the product that they have, and you could derive that color from the image so that they don't have to do the work. So just making it easy for suppliers to list their items for sale on the website, for consumers to find what they're looking for, are all examples of areas where in a massively fragmented and early stage evolution landscape like India, there's so much innovation to do that we probably have seen just the tip of the iceberg right now.
Just to go back to that question, in terms of application technology with respect to capital investments, will it be a different strategy with respect to India versus how you deliver in the US, or for that matter, other developed countries?
Well, it's a combination of both. You don't dogmatically work by a playbook. You do what is right for customers. And as I said, our strategy is to work backwards from the customer needs, from the small, medium business needs, and to ask, how can we empower them? How can we drive digital inclusion? So the examples of technology that I gave, trying to have customers use voice on the Amazon app requires natural language understanding. It requires machine learning and AI. That's something that we started in India. We have Alexa elsewhere, but we realized that for Indians to own an Echo device, there are so many different kinds of India that you would not get that same level of Echo adoption in India like we have in more established countries. So it was important for us to bring Alexa to the Amazon app so that customers can talk to Alexa and get the same experience. So these are examples of technology innovation that we are driving every day, but working backwards from the customer, and that defines how we invest. We don't invest playbook forwards, we invest customer backwards.
Tell me, how are you viewing the grocery opportunity? There are industry people who are pegging growth from 2 billion to 20 billion over the next 5 years. Do you really think this rate of progression is achievable in the next 5 years? And how does Amazon really capture this opportunity? Is there a unique differentiator that you would create around this business that can fast track this part?
Well, grocery is very, very early in its adoption. I think all of these categories in some way are very early. They're very, very large consumption categories of the customers. And again, there would be many options that the customers would have. We have been doing a couple of things. We have a service called Amazon Fresh that provides 2 hour full grocery baskets, your daily grocery, at your doorstep in 2 hours, and or scheduled slots that you have. And then we have Amazon Pantry, that allows you to stock up and save more. So you basically buy large value packs, and that allows you to save money when you stock up. What we realized last year was customers love fresh and they love pantry. We have millions of customers, by the way, right now that have adopted Amazon for their grocery needs. So we feel very humbled about it. But what we found is in the cities where both offerings are present, customers would often tell us that could you make it easier for me to enjoy both in a single order? So that's what we are doing right now. We are combining fresh and pantry in the top 10 cities where both are available. And we've started rolling it out. So customers would be able to get both 2-hour delivery and be able to get the value packs that they like to stock up to save. And that's a very unique proposition. It allows us to provide the largest selection available in 2 hours, and it allows it to provide the greatest value on a per unit basis when customers stock up. But as I said, it's very early. We are very excited about the adoption that we have got so far, and we are very optimistic about the future of this business.
Would you be looking at some inorganic growth opportunities in that space?
Well, we are always open. We are always open to finding missionary companies who are doing a great job. Our organic strategy is working very well so far, but we are always open if there are great companies led by great teams who bring a unique value that fit into our overall flywheel and provides customers a better experience.
Amit, how about the apparel side of the business? That's been a big story in India. Flipkart has hit pay dirt with Myntra. And how do you see that? I mean, can this business really reside within Amazon? Or does it have to be a different kind of experience that you have to deliver? What is your thought in terms of how this business is shaping up? How are you capturing this opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, we are very excited about how our apparel business has grown over the years. All of these ultimately have the same parameters that I talked about. Customers want to get access to great selection, great value, and great convenience. So in case of apparel, it was one of the later categories that we launched. So we are newer in that time scale than our other categories, but we have grown very, very quickly. I mean, just so that we have our facts right, on a single destination basis, not as a group company basis, on a single destination basis, Amazon is the largest apparel destination. So we do have the largest apparel business, but we don't have other subsidiaries out there. And we're super excited at the way we are growing. We're growing, on all metrics faster than other alternatives that a customer has. And the reason for that is we are focused on those big things that I talked about. So we are helping mostly disorganized manufacturing units in India to create brands so that they can offer more quality branded selection to customers. We are focused on providing fast delivery, same day, next day delivery, because customers do tend to, in these categories, want to get their hands on what they aspire to look like very quickly. We offer 30-day, no questions asked return policy because it's important for customers to feel comfortable about what they've bought. And then we are focused on the small things, which might appear small, but they are big things for the customers. So small defects like data quality, trying to use machine learning to help customers find things that fit. Launching features such as Style Snap that allows you to upload a picture that allows you to find styles that look like that. So experiences that allow customers to have a more convenient shopping experience. So all in all, we are very excited about the growth that we've seen in apparel, and this continues to be an important consumption category. During COVID, we saw customers use online to get their essential wear. And now as people are beginning to open up a little bit, you're seeing the discretionary fashion business come back on track as well. So super excited, very early again, these are things that we measure in terms of many, many years, and we like where we are.
Tell me, Amit, what is your broad thinking in terms of how these businesses are going to shape up in terms of verticals? For example, now, at least in India, you clearly see earlier, like 5 years ago, you would have just a Flipkart or an Amazon or whoever. But now you clearly see that there is a leader in furniture, there is a leader in fashion, there is outside of these umbrella marketplaces, right? So what is the thinking in Amazon with respect to how these businesses are going to grow in future? If there is, at any point in time, have you even considered that these have to be verticalized? Is that the way the market will grow? Or do you think that all of them under a single umbrella and platform is a more sustainable strategy?
Well, you don't base your strategy on horizontal or vertical. You ask yourselves, what allows customers to have a better customer experience? And as I said before, customers will shop at many places. You would never have, which is precisely why I have this premise that over over the sufficient duration of time, there would be many winners, because you would always have a customer intent, and they would want to shop based on their intent and based on their need at that moment in time. Our job is to make sure that we provide them a superior experience on Amazon, so that when they choose us. I think always there would be many places where customers would shop. It's not surprising to me that there would be places that they would buy online, go offline to pick up. They would buy offline. They would go to a particular website that they like. They might just go to the brand site directly because they have such admiration for the brand that they just want to buy from the brand directly. There is a place for all of these solutions, and so is a place for us where, as I said, our focus is the largest selection, greatest value, and greatest convenience, and that's what we are focused on.
Post-pandemic, are there any big changes or shifts in consumer behavior that you have seen? And are there any new opportunities that you probably didn't think of earlier? Have they emerged? Do you look at the businesses a little differently now?
Yeah, I think clearly when we look at how, as I said before, how people have approached the pandemic, the right kind of businesses in India have embraced technology and used pandemic as a way to reinvent themselves and digitally invent themselves. So when I look at the rate at which small businesses are coming online, that was about 50% higher than pre-pandemic, which means that more and more sellers are wanting to come online. More and more your local stores, they want to have an online presence in addition to just offline footfalls. So in response to that, we launched this product called Local Shops on Amazon that is essentially targeted towards a couple of needs, which is the local store wanting an online presence and the customer wanting to shop from their local store from the convenience of their home. So this product is a great win-win for both the customer and the store. And that has shown tremendous growth for us. We have onboarded nearly 50,000 local stores in 700 pin codes who are already selling on Amazon, and that's growing very fast. So that's an example of a trend that has shaped up in what we're doing. Now, on the consumer side, clearly there is a trend for more and more people wanting to come online and shop online, even as some of the COVID kind of the headwinds are relaxing and people are going out. But there is a degree of convenience they enjoy when they shop online. And they would actually do a mix of both. I feel there is never going to be an online-offline debate. This pandemic has structurally blurred the line between online and offline, and customers would enjoy both convenience and so would businesses. So I think that trend is here to stay. And from a consumer's perspective, we are seeing trends of consumers shopping more and more in their local languages. We have 5 languages on the Amazon app that customers can shop in. And a very meaningful part of our new customers come from local languages. Similarly, on the businesses, if I look at just the last few months, nearly 50,000 small businesses started selling on Amazon and used Hindi or Tamil or one of the local languages to get started. So I would say a greater trend of now the next layer of sellers and consumers, deeper penetration into the country coming online. So that is becoming very popular. Another trend that we saw was as these customers who are digitally new in some ways in shopping coming online, they would interact differently with the app. They would tend to type less. They would want easier shortcuts to get to what they want. So we introduced voice on the Amazon app. You can actually talk to the Amazon app and say, pay my bill. And it will take you to a place where you can pay your bill. So So we are seeing that work out very well. We are seeing customers use that very well. So I think it goes back to the two pillars: digital empowerment and digital inclusion. I think the pandemic has structurally accelerated both dimensions, and it's enabling innovations in both these areas, and that's going to stay.
Tell me, so far you can correct me if my numbers are wrong, but I'm given to understand you've invested about $6.5 billion in India so far. What kind of investments do you see over the next 3 to 5 years?
I think when we look at the approach that we have, it's a rare landscape we find ourselves where our business priorities are so completely aligned with India's priorities over the next few years. It's like in sync. So our success is dependent upon how fast we can digitally empower sellers and businesses, and how quickly we can drive digital inclusion of customers. If we don't do that, we won't get growth. It's a very simple equation. And the success of India, its recovery, and its potential in the 21st century is also indexed on these two pillars. So I find ourselves in a very lucky frame where our priorities are aligned. And once you kind of extend this over time and imagine hundreds of millions of customers, tens of millions of businesses, all engaging on this vibrant marketplace, the opportunity is so massive that we don't look at investment amounts as we look at that opportunity. We kind of ask ourselves, how do we accelerate these two dimensions of empowerment and inclusion? So a lot of the investments that you're talking about that we have made public are based on the line of sight that we have on how quickly we can move those two dimensions. That's what it says. And we will continue investing in India for whatever makes sense to drive these two. I think we are here for decades to come. This is very, very early. We are completely committed to. In fact, we made a pledge publicly early in 2020 that we would digitize 10 million small, medium businesses. We would enable a cumulative $10 billion in exports and create 1 million jobs by 2025. So I would say that's a big marker to make sure that we are able to do this as massive scale. And we'll continue doing that post that as well.
So Amit, it's amply clear you are very bullish on India, but tell me, do you see regulatory hurdles and this rising domestic lobby proving to be a big challenge for you? And how different is it from what you have faced in the rest of the world?
Yeah, I think in every country that we do business in have their own unique laws and nuances. India is no different. And our responsibility as a corporate citizen is to ensure that we are in compliance with all laws of the land. And that's where we start. And within that, we have to work hard to invent on behalf of the customer, invent on behalf of the small medium business, so that we can drive the customer experience that we want to drive. So I say that because that's kind of the frame that you have to start with, and then ask yourselves, how you are kind of making progress in that dimension. So when I look at what we're doing, it's the good part is that our business priorities are perfectly aligned with the country priorities. We talk about Digital India, which is all about empowerment and inclusion. We talk of Make in India. Global selling is the perfect mechanism to take Make in India global at scale. So we find ourselves in this place where our efforts are actually good for the country and good for our business, and we continue to focus on that. So we are very excited about what lies ahead. We continue to offer our perspective on what would allow this flywheel to move faster. I think India is in a very unique position that e-commerce can be a great social and economic leveler for the country. And I think if we do our policies right, the whole vision of Digital India can only be accelerated.
Just as a last question, you've spent sufficient time with Jeff Bezos. Tell me a little bit about what have been your biggest learnings from him?
Well, I think it's one of those really fortunate and lucky experiences that I've had to have worked closely with him for some period of my Amazon career. I've been at Amazon now for 22 years. So in that sense, I have been able to see things a little bit from close quarter, but also I was his technical advisor for a couple of years. And I got to observe him closely. I think the three things stand out for me is just the customer obsession and how he thinks deeply about customers, and not just think about this, truly deeply obsess about serving them. I've learned from him that you really have to make hard promises and keep it even when no one is watching, so that you can earn your customer trust. Invent on their behalf. You find yourself in these ambiguous, complex situations, and the only way is to not make it an either or. You need to give customers the experience that they care about, and the only solution for that is invention. And then long term, you should be prepared to be misunderstood. You need to take risks. You need to invest for the long term. So I would say that those are the three kind of the pillars of what I have internalized that drives great leverage. And we are trying to do the same in India. We really think our strategy in India is based upon obsessing with how to invent so that we can empower selling partners that we have, and we can drive digital inclusion. It is based on just invention when we think about them, and then we are committed for the long term. We are here committed to be a partner in India's own journey of Digital India, and committed to serve our customers and small businesses for a long period of time.
Sure. Thank you so much, Amit. It was an absolute delight talking to you. Thank you.
Same. Thank you very much. You have a very good day.